Hey everyone, a huge welcome to all of Mr. Cheese students and followers. Today we're going to do something a little different. We are taking a really close look at one specific exam question. That's question 2.2 from the Life Sciences paper, and we're going to give you a masterclass on how to absolutely ace it. Let's jump right in.
You know the feeling. We've all been there. You see that big, chunky 6-mark question staring back at you, and your mind just goes blank. It can feel super intimidating, but I promise you there's a simple, repeatable strategy to break it down. By the end of this explainer, you'll see these questions not as a threat, but as a golden opportunity to rack up some serious marks.
Okay, first things first, let's build up some confidence with the foundation questions. We're going to hit these quick 1 and 2 mark questions from the first part of 2.2. It's the perfect way to get our brains warmed up and, get some easy marks in the bag right from the start.
So, question 2.2.1 gives you a map showing baobab trees dotted around Madagascar, Africa, and Australia. It then asks what kind of evidence for evolution this represents. The answer? It's just one word, for 1 mark, biogeography. That's it. It's all about where species live around the globe and why. Easy mark.
All right, next up, question 2.2.2 asks for 3 other lines of evidence. And look, the marking guidelines are super clear about what they want. You can go with genetic evidence, modification by descent, and it's always a good idea to pop homologous structures in brackets there. And of course, the big one, the fossil record. Name any 3 of those and you've just bagged another 3 marks, just like that.
Now for 2.2.3, where you need to tell the difference between speciation and extinction. The trick here is all about the key words. For speciation, think formation. You're making something new. For extinction, it's disappearance. A species is gone, completely, forever. Nailing that contrast between formation and disappearance gets you both marks. Okay, our foundation is solid. Now it's time for the main event, the 6-mark beast, question 2.2.4. But here's how we're going to tackle it. We're not going to think of it as just a question. Instead, let's frame it as a story. The epic story of how one group of baobab trees evolved into 2 totally distinct species.
You see, pretty much every story of speciation follows this same basic plot. First, you have one big happy population of baobabs. Then, they get split up by a geographical barrier. In this case, the continents drifted apart and the sea rushed in between them. Now that they're separated, there's no gene flow. They just can't mix and mingle anymore. And think about it, the environment in Africa is pretty different from Australia, right? That means you have different selection pressures. So natural selection starts working its magic independently on each group, favoring different traits needed to survive in their new homes. Over millions of years, these groups become so different, both in their genes, which is genotypically, and in how they look, which is phenotypically, that even if you magically brought them back together, they couldn't interbreed anymore. And boom, just like that, you have 2 new species. That's the whole story.
Now, knowing the story is half the battle. The other half is knowing exactly what the person marking your paper is looking for. So let's pull back the curtain and peek inside the official marking memorandum to see exactly where each and every one of those 6 marks comes from. Okay, look at the detail here. You don't just get a mark for saying a barrier. The memo gives the mark for saying geographical barrier and for naming it, the sea. That little bit of specificity is exactly what they want to see. This phrase right here is absolutely golden. You have to use it. No gene flow. It's the precise biological term that tells the examiner you understand the heart of the issue, genetic isolation. This one is pretty much a non-negotiable for a top mark answer. So, why do the populations start to change? Because they're living in different places. The memo explicitly gives you a mark for saying they were exposed to different environmental conditions or different selection pressures. This is the why of the story, and it's worth a full point.
And this is brilliant. This is the next crucial point. It's not enough to say natural selection happens. The magic word is independently. Using that word shows the examiner that you get it, that the 2 groups are on separate evolutionary paths now. That's a guaranteed tick.
And here it is, the grand finale of our speciation story. How do we know for sure that they're actually different species? This is the ultimate test, reproductive isolation. The memo gives a mark for clearly stating they will not be able to interbreed. This is the final nail in the coffin, the proof that speciation is complete.
So let's put this all together. Think of this table as your perfect roadmap to getting 6 out of 6. You just tell the story step by step, and as you do, you make sure you hit these key marking points. You talk about the separation by the sea, then the lack of gene flow,
the different conditions, which leads to independent natural selection, causing them to diverge until finally they can't interbreed. It's a perfect, logical story that ticks every single box.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The strategy is actually super simple. First, you need to understand the biological story of speciation so you can tell it in your own words. And second, while you're telling that story, you need to deliberately sprinkle in those key phrases you know the examiners are looking for. Tell the story, hit the keywords. That is the game plan.
Now that you've completely mastered this question, just imagine having this kind of clear breakdown for every single tricky topic in your syllabus. Well, guess what? You can. Let's talk about where you can get more of this expert guidance directly from Mr. Chi himself.
For more incredible exam tips, awesome breakdowns, and lessons, you have got to be following Mr. Chi across all his platforms. He's dropping knowledge on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Seriously, do yourself a favor. Like this, share it with a friend who's struggling, and subscribe so you never miss out on the stuff that could really make a difference in your final exams.
And I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. This whole story about the baobab, it's not unique. Think about the famous finches in the Galapagos, or all the different kinds of lemurs in Madagascar. Can you think of any other species, maybe even in your own country, that could have a similar story of separation and evolution? The principles are exactly the same, no matter where you look. Keep thinking, stay curious, and good luck with your studies.